Hey Bales, welcome back to my tutorial series on creating a 2D side-scrolling platformer in GameMaker Studio. You can see here I've created this new map, so we have a new workspace to add to. It was getting a little cramped in the other two rooms, but as you can see this is a lava map, and that's because one of the things I want to show you is how to use our before created water as a lava instead. You can see it flows a little slower and we have this effect going on, and it's a little cheaty way we do that, but I will show that in a moment. You can see it is just water, and if we jump into it we die, boom. The other thing I want to show you is these wheels here, where you can of course pull a lever to, for example, turn them or stuff like that, but these will drag you with them as they rotate depending on their speed. And if you jump, you can see I was thrown a little to the side as I jumped while doing this. So they have this effect on you, and that's the other main thing we're going to talk about in this episode. So lean back and let's look at the assets. Sprite-wise, we only have two things new. We have a changed icon here, so we have our second icon being our third image, but our second icon being a volcano, just so it fitted the level a little more. And the other one is our stone wheel here. And you could technically have different kinds of sub-images here, and you can switch between them in our object, and that would be cool. But the main thing to remember here is to have it centered and to have your mask set to be an ellipse, and you need to know exactly how wide it is, because we're going to use that later. But if you just remember to know that, then it's no problem at all to create these things. The other thing, new assets we have is the background, which is we have three new backgrounds. We have the background in the whole back. You saw there was like misty fog, like that's this on top of a background color of our choosing. So we cannot really see a lot here, but there's some. And then we have the between here, where we have like whoops, a moment. If we go to edit here, you can see we have this red glow down here where the lava was, and it's a little bit larger than the room is, so it will move a little in the background, but not too much. But pretty simple, not really something that took a long while to make. And then we have, of course, the room itself, where you can see we have drawn everywhere where there is something solid. And down here you can see that we drew the glow from the lava. We drew that onto the background. That's not an effect from the lava itself. That's something we drew to the background. Again, we're cheating a little, but it works great when you create the game. And then the last thing is we added these wires from where the lever is gonna be to where the where the lever is gonna be and where the wheels are gonna be, and yeah. And then we of course have the room as well here. And if we zoom out a little, you'll see that I simply just added a lot of solid blocks where they need to be solid. Platforms like this and this one down here, and these down here is ghost platforms, and also this one up here, so that you would be able to enter them from below. And this one especially is important to be a ghost platform, because then you can walk up this slope and pass through the ghost platform onto this platform, and then when you go walk the other way it will just be on this platform. So that's pretty cool, and just simple room. I've made sure there's a lot of space in here because we want it to be expandable, so we can add stuff in the next episodes. I'm thinking about making the next episode some ladders and ledge climbing, so that should be fun. Anyway, here we have the room, pretty simple. We have the wheels, we have a wire going from the lever to the wheels. If we right click the wheels, we have the rotation speeds we can set. I'll come back to these things in a moment, but let's just start with some of the actual code, shall we? First thing we're going to look at here is some slight changes to two of our scripts. One of them is solid place, where we have added, so we both check for if there's a path solid ghost as we did before, and then instead of checking at our own x position and the argument y position to check if there's a solid ghost, we check at the y position, we are checking -1. And the reason we're doing this is to stop a bug that happened, making it problematic to do as we wanted to do. So we changed that, and then I added a small part here. I'm not using it in this example, but I added a buffer. You don't have to use it. It's a variable argument. You do not need to have it. But if you write, for example, 10 here, it will add a buffer around in our view of 10 pixels on every side. And so if you use this script and say not in view and use a buffer of 10 or 100 or something, then it will not only check if it's inside the view, but also if it's inside the buffer. So as long as it is inside this buffer area or the view, it will return true. So that's a small change, and that's good to use, for example, if you need to enable or disable some objects outside of the view or something like that, then it's always nice to have a buffer. So that's just a small change. But our solid place script, I changed it as a part of part solution, where I also changed in a par entity. I changed the slope inclination it checks here to be a higher number, 32. I think it was 16 before, no, 8 before, I think actually, just because we want to check better. So that's just a small change I did here, and we'll get back to this entity because there's some other stuff that is altered. But I think we shall start with the lava. In the room here, you can see that the lava is a small trick I did. We actually have 3 objects stapled on top of them each other down here. In front we have our object force, object gravity field or whatever it's called. Object force it was called. Sorry, I just became in doubt. You know, the one where you can change the gravity of stuff and stuff like that. Here we do not change the gravity, but we check. We give it the particle effect P lava glow, which I will come back to in a moment, which is a new particle I created, and we create very few of them here, 0.05 particles. So very little particle effects, but this gives these yellow glows you saw in the lava. Then we have the next one, which is our power hazard. So we have this red hazard block as we used on the spikes. Sorry. So that was actually kill you. And then we have the actual water body down here. And you can see here we have changed some things here. We have 2 new things we can change. We can change the image alpha now, which is just the alpha of how see-through it is. And we have this new variable how liquid, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But then we have set disturbance, and we have set watercolor to be a more orange-red-ish color. So that's how we fake the lava down here. And put it all together, we have this nice lava effect here, looking pretty good. You can see these yellowish things down here, making it look more like lava and the orange color. So that's nice. So what I've changed in the lava object here, or the water object it is still, is you always could change the water color. That was something that was before. Then I have added the how liquid, which normally is set to 1, and I have made so you can change the image alpha, which is normally set to 0.4, which was the alpha we used normally for water. And the alpha is just used in here, where we draw set alpha, set it to the alpha we use here, and before it was just written 0.4 down here, so it's just a quick way to make it more customizable. If you just let everything be as they was, don't use anything in the creation code, it will simply draw the water exactly as it did last time. So there will be no change there. Then we have this other variable, the how liquid, and it's a simple multiplier we add to whenever we add vertical speed to the water Y positions. The notes we have, if you remember them, else go back to the old video. I'll put a link up in the corner here, I think. And then what it does, it simply multiplies it. We have set it to 0.2, so it will make sure that the V speed is way lower than it should be actually, and this makes it go slower. So an easy multiplier. You can also make it even more liquid if you add to it, and that will, if you set it to 2 for example, then it will go double as fast and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy add an addition to the code, but it makes a great impact. Good. Another thing was our rotating solids, our wheels. And to understand how these works best, I will start off telling about the other thing I've changed in par entity, which is I have added this speed b variable, which is a extra variable I've created, and also speed, vertical speed b, and b simply stands for boost. And what it does is it gives you a one-step speed boost. So you can see here before the horizontal movement code, it adds the h-speed boost, then it does the code, it adds it to the pure h-speed, then it does the code, and then it removes the boost again and sets the boost to 0. So it only works in one step, this boost, and it's a new way to move it with the platforms and stuff like that. I've overlaid the moving platform as well. I'll show in a moment how we use it. It's a good way to then move into our new object. And the same down here with the vertical speed plus vertical speed boost, and down here vertical speed minus my vertical speed boost, vertical speed equals 0. So a very easy way to do things. And the thing we did in the moving platform here is instead of moving all the entities on top of our platform, we simply just add how much the platform have moved to the h-speed b and v-speed b variables, and then it will move in their movement code. So pretty easy. And now our new object, our object solid wheel in this new solids category. As I said, it's based off the moving platforms, except we have some changes. It's not moving, it's rotating. So instead of movement speed, we have rotate speed, rot speed, and current speed, curve speed. Standard is rotation speed, that's the amount it will rotate, is set to 4, and current speed is set to 0. Then we have image angle 2, and that's because I don't want to change the actual image angle, but I want to change what image angle is drawn. So we have image angle 2, with normally it's just set to a random degree to start off with, and we of course have the list. And as you can see here, image angle 2 is then used in the draw sprite extended here, where everything is just how the sprite is, and then up here we have our own image angle variable here, so that the object itself is not actually rotated. But then the things is a little different in the code here, and it looks a little chaotic, but it's actually not that bad again. The main difference between the main difference between the moving platform this is we do not clear the list of entities on it every time we're done. We let them be in the list, and then we check the list again in the start and what objects was on it. And the reason I'm doing this is that when you are jumping off of these wheels, you want to keep having this momentum. You want it to push you a little in the way it was, and it won't do that unless you do it like this, because the h-speed boost variable will be reset, and then you will not have that momentum. Also, if you were simply just adding, instead of adding to h-speed boost, if you were simply adding to just h-speed and v-speed, then you would accelerate with that, and you would to begin moving faster than the platform, even if you're standing still. And we can't use that either. So what we do here is the first thing we do is we loop through our list to see if we have anything on it already in our list. We then connect these for every entity we have on it. We find its ID here, and then if it exists and if it's still on our platform, then we just want to keep it in our list. So we move it up with 9,999 pixels, as we did with our moving platforms. Move it out of our way, and then we can continue. If it's not on our platform anymore, or if it doesn't exist anymore, we will delete it from the list. We will subtract 1 from I, so our counter variable here, because now we have 1 list in our list. And if it still exists, so if it just moved away from the platform, then we will give it the momentum. And the code here is the I can speak very well. The exact same so that was as what we're going to look at down here. So I will not go into depth with this up here yet, but the only difference is here we added to the actual horizontal speed and vertical speed. The quick explanation is this calculates how much you need to move the player around the or the entity around the circle, and then it adds this to the horizontal and vertical speed, where down here it adds it to the horizontal speed boost and the vertical speed boost. So that's the only difference here, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Then we do go through with anything, if anything new entities are on our platform or our rotating solid here, we will go through them and add them to the list and move them up 9,999 pixels. So this part is pretty much the same as in moving platforms. So now we have our list filled, and we can continue to the next step, which is rotating our wheel. And what we do here is we have a variable called a temporary variable called ACC for acceleration, and that will always be our rotation speed divided with 30. You can change this in your own games, but this is a nice value, I think. And the reason I'm doing this instead of having a customized rotation speed is that, or customized acceleration, is that if you have two, I will show you. You can see down here that because this wheel and this wheel and this wheel, they are moving at different speeds, but when we pull the lever, you can see that they stop up now at the same pace and then move the other direction. And that's what it does because we set the acceleration depending on the movement speed. And that makes it look like, for example here, that we are connected to this one, and then because this one turns the other way, this one turns the other way, and then this one turns the other way. So it makes it look like they are connected even though they are not at all connected. The lever is actually turning all of them. So you can see it looks natural that they're stopping together and then turning the other way. And I think that looks the nicest. So that's why I did it that way. So after we have this variable found out what it will be, we shall change our current speed. Our current speed will be set to current speed plus acceleration, but then it will be clamped between our max and minimum speed, which is our rotation speed variable, the absolute of that negative and the absolute of that positive. so that it will be clamped, so it cannot go faster in either rotation direction than our rotation speed. And then we simply set our image angle 2 to image angle 2 plus current speed, and then we put that modulus 360 to make sure that it is kept between 0 and 360, so it will always have a pure degree. So now our wheel has rotated, and now it's time to find out how to move our entity on top, because normally with moving platforms it's easy enough to say if the platform moves right, then the player should move, or the entity should move right as well, or if it moves up, the entity should move up. But here it's a little different because we have a circle. So if our entity stands, for example, here, and this one moves this direction, then our entity should move this direction as well. And to make that work, we do some calculations here. We go through our lists, and with that object we create a temporary at x and at y variable, and then we use length direction to figure out how much it should move in that direction. So what we do is we take 138, and now think, wait, what's that for a weird number? 138. I don't know why I say 9. And 138 is the width of our mask for our sprite, our circle sprite there. So that's what I said in the start. You have to know this number because you need to use it. So that's our diameter, and you times that with the image x scale, because if you have scaled the wheel, it should be scaled as well here. And you always want image x scale and image y scale to be the same in these wheels, because else you would need some more advanced calculations. So you want it to be exactly round, not ellipse, but round. Anyway, so you scale it with image x scale, and then you times with pi. And this gives you the distance around the circle. I don't know the proper term right now. I'm not used to use math words on English. Anyway, then we divide it with 360, and then we times it with our current speed. This gives us that when we have our circle here, then we have the whole way around divided with 160. So we have segments divided with the 360. Sorry, not 160, 360. And then, depending on our current speed, it will move that part around the circle. And then we say that's the distance we wanted to move. And then we need to set the direction, because we of course don't want it to move outwards, we want to move it over this direction. So what we then do is we set point direction from the center of the circle out to the outskirts of the circle, to the entity. We get that direction, and then we set it to other current speed. That's we'll say our wheel's current speed, the sign of that. So that will be either if it's standing still 0, but else it will be -1 or +1, and then we times it with 90. And again, that makes so if we have the direction out from the center, bad drawing, from the center of the circle out to our entity here, and then plus 90, so it moves it that way. And that's how we calculate how much it needs to move. And then of course we do the same for the at y. We just use length direction y instead, and then we move our entity back down, and we set the h speed boost and vertical speed boost. We add the at x and at y to those variables, and this makes that we can move our player around the circle in the same manner. If you want to make gears or something like that, or if you want to make ellipses or non-round shapes work, you will have to do something a little more advanced. But this works for circles and is a pretty cool way to do things. But yeah, that's the solid wheel here. And then of course I've added this in the collision with object wire. I've added this state change. If the wires change state, the rotation speed will be timed with the -1, thus changing the rotation direction. But that was actually it. Some things you can change if you want to. You can merge object solid wheel with, for example, object moving platform to make moving circles which rotate. So there's a lot of opportunity in this. But I've been Simon. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry it came a day late, but I promised to come with it yesterday. But something fucked up with my recording software Bandicam, and the footage I got couldn't be used. So I had to re-record everything. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you did, please like this video, and if you have questions or anything, feel free to write in the comments. You can see on my other videos I do answer my comments, and I like to answer my comments. And if you have some suggestions, something you hope you want to see in a GameMaker tutorial, I will gladly take that up into consideration. So I will be going to sleep now, actually. We'll see you next time. Bye! Whoa! You seem to be at the end of the video. If you liked this video, or even if you didn't, it would make me incredibly happy if you would just rate it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!